All right, so one of the things that I'm going to show you how to do in this video is use the speed square for some of the various purposes, how to read the speed square, how to draw lines, make angles with, and read angles with the speed square. All right, so I've got a 2x6 here. The speed square, just some basic fundamentals about the speed square. It's got two ledges, a ledge here and a ledge here. All right, that ledge hooks on the edge of the wood, and obviously you can flip it around on the other side, hook it on the other side of the wood. All right, so you got a ledge and a ledge. The speed square from here out to here is 7 inches long. My hypothesis on why that is if you put a 2x4 beside of a 2x4 here and a 2x4 here, that's 3.5 and 3.5, which is 7. That allows you to mark all the way across what is commonly known as your sole plate and top plate if you're laying out those in a house. So for your speed square, laying that out, you can mark all the way across. We've talked about before. You've got inch markers, 1, 2, 3. I don't typically use those. I don't find them to be very accurate. I typically use a tape measure if I want to do something like that. So real quick, one of the first things that you've learned typically is, if you need to make a measurement, let's say that we want to mark this, we'll mark it at 3 inches. We'll just put us a mark at 3 inches. A lot of older folks will use what they call a crow's foot. I typically just put a mark. You line that up to the edge of your mark, make you a straight line. That keeps this square to the edge of your line. That way, if you needed to, you can make a cut across here. All right. Now, as far as reading one goes, I don't know if you can see this or not. Right here, it says pivot. All right, if you look at that pivot right there, so if you hook this here, all right, that is your pivot point for turning, like this right here. Now, if you want to make just an angle, all right, a regular angle, so let's say that I wanted to mark a 25-degree angle. I pivot this on that pivot point on the edge of the wood until 25 degrees here is in line with the edge of my wood. So when that 25 is in line with the edge of my wood, I mark this side of my speed square. All right, there's my 25-degree angle. All right, let's say that you wanted to mark a 45-degree angle. You keep sliding until 45 degrees here gets in line with the edge of your wood. All right, and then mark that side of it. So there's a 25-degree angle, 45-degree angle. All right, and you can do that with pretty much any angle. 45s typically are easy with the speed square. This angle here on the speed square is a 45-degree angle. All right, if you look at that. One of the things too that you can use the speed square for is this one doesn't have scribe lines in it. A lot of them right here, if you look, will have little notches. You can hook your pencil or whatever in here and you can scribe there's a piece of glue on here that's keeping me from being able to do this right. You can hook your pencil here, pull it towards you, and you can scribe a straight line at whatever line you want to make, and it stays the same distance from the edge all the way down. So like I said, this one doesn't have the scribe lines on it, but if you ever get one, it's good to buy one that's got the scribe lines. The other thing that we do at times, depending on what we're doing, I can find a roof angle. All right, this is called the technical name for this is called a rafter layout square. Most people just call it a speed square. Now, one of the things that a lot of high school students get confused by is it's in the shape of a triangle, and we call it a square. The reason that we call it a square is it makes the line, as we did here, square to the piece of wood that I want to cut. Okay, so this and this form a 90-degree angle, and if anything's a 90-degree angle, it's said to be square. All right, you probably learned that in math class. So your rafter layout angles. All right, one of the things you've got to be able to see here is this says common, and this right here is hip and valley. There are two types of rafters. Whenever you're cutting out rafters, there is common rafters. These are regular rafters. They make like a gable roof. And then you got hip rafters. Hip rafters come off of, they run towards the center. They run off the corner towards the center of the house. All right. So one of the things that you can do with this is figure out a degree or a slope of, let's say I've got a 6 and 12 pitch on a common rafter. The common numbers are down here, the hip and valleys are up here. All right. there is my 6 on the common. So if I will take it just like I did with the angles and slope it from 6, where 6 on the common, right here, 6, is in line with the edge of my board, that is a 6 and 12 pitch. So what I could do, that could either be my ridge cut for a rafter, or that could be my tail cut for a rafter, either way. The other thing, let's say that you wanted to, if you needed to do a hip and valleys are really, they're kind of tricky, especially high school students. We don't get into those a whole lot. If you want to do an 8 and 17 hip and valley, all right, your hip and valleys are over 17 instead of 12. If you pivoted 8 right here with the edge of your wood, then you could just mark the backside of your square again. Another thing that I like to use this for is finding out what degree slope. So let's say I had a 5 and 12 pitch on a house. So your slope is 5 and 12. That's what you're gonna see on your blueprint. You got a 5 and 12. There is common, there's my 5, all right? And over 12 is assumed, all right? That's just assumed on the square. So there's my 5. If I look directly across from my 5 and I follow it down this way, I can tell that a 5 and 12 pitch is roughly equal to a 22.5 degree angle. All right, so let's say that we want to do that for another one. Let's say that we got an 8 and 12 pitch. There's my 8. I follow that 8 straight down, and that's roughly going to be like 32, 33.5 degree angle. So if my buddy was working on a roof and he needed, a plumb cut up there, instead of, sending a saw up to him or something, he could say, hey, I need an 8 and 12 pitch. We would, just go over to 8. You could either put 8, or you could put right there in the edge of your wood, 8, mark here. He could cut that, send me my board. All right, so that's how you read your speed square. A lot of people don't know what all these numbers are whenever they're looking at the speed square. This thing can actually do more than this. I'm just gonna show you, I'm showing you the basics, sorry. And if you look at, so one more time, your angles are here, all along this edge. You've got a pivot point here. You've got a swing on that pivot point. When you swing on that pivot point, and you can also swing the opposite way. So if you turn it this way, you can swing, let's say that we want to go to a, let's say 35 degree angle. If you look, 35 degrees is in line with the edge of my board. Mark this side right here. I've got a 35 degree angle. All right, so that's how you read your speed square. You'll probably have an assignment on this. Hopefully you paid attention. Pretty short video, hopefully. And if you got any questions, just shoot me an email or ask me in class.